Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's pretty steamy today. There's hardly a breeze. I mean, really any breeze at all. Humidity's pretty high. There's been some pop-up showers in the vicinity, but nothing has happened here. So it's just hot and sticky, and it feels like it's not that this kind of weather is unusual by any means. It's just we're not usually quite at this point this time of the year. Maybe in another month and a half we get to this point, but a lot of people worried already in our area. Not anything that I've had to deal with, but there's been news reports in various parts of the state where there's been heat exposure, heat exhaustion. People have had to be taken to the hospital and stuff, and I don't know. I mean, yes, it's hot, but I mean, maybe people are a little bit more soft than they used to be. As a kid growing up, this time of the year, I'd be out hauling hay like the guys that are out hauling hay now, except we did square bales and had to handle it by hand. Didn't have all the big tractors like you do now. And we did fine, so I don't know. So I guess the dust has settled a little bit on the 12-day Iran-Iraq war and the ceasefire agreement. Number one, understand that it's just a ceasefire agreement, okay? It doesn't mean that it's over. In fact, both sides have indicated today that it's not over. Israel says that their campaign against Iran that they started is continuing. It's just in a new chapter, and that they will put more focus back on Gaza, but that it's not over with Iran. Iran has said that they are assessing damages, and that they're rebuilding, going to start immediately on rebuilding damage that was done, and including their nuclear program. They said that they will be assessing that and getting that back up and going again. Now, they still are saying that they're not trying to develop nuclear weapons, but doesn't make sense why to enrich uranium to such a high grade if you're not trying to make nuclear weapons. So if they're still trying to do that, there's like 400 kilograms of enriched uranium that they supposedly had, that now no one knows where it's at. There's speculation that it may be in Russia, that it may be in China. Who knows? Don't really know. Here's the thing. Here's the problem. And it's not just a problem for you and I, but it's a problem for, just dealing with other world leaders, the rest of the world. There's been so much deception throughout all of this that now it's hard to know what's true. I mean, not that any of us, you and I, have believed most of the things. We always need to have a good, healthy dose of skepticism. But with the amount of deception, it makes it even harder. Now, of course, there's always going to be the normies, whether they're on the left or the right, and they just gobble up whatever's fed to them, right? Whatever particular talking head that they like to listen to, they just gobble it up. And so there's a lot of people that are out cheering, saying that this is a great, momentous occasion that should be celebrated. And maybe it should be. But it seems a little too quick, too soon, and too strange to just immediately think that everything's okay. The news is reporting that, I guess it was yesterday, that Border Patrol or Coast Guard, maybe it was, had stopped and seized a boat trying to enter the country, into the United States illegally, with 11 passengers that were all Iranian. And now they're saying that one of those passengers is confirmed as part of the Iranian military. He was a sniper, a trained sniper with the Iranian army. So is that nothing? Or are we seeing kind of another setup? I mean, would it be possible? I'm not saying that this is what I believe. I'm not saying that this is what's happening. We're just kind of playing around here. I mean, we saw how there was this deception that Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump and Israel, were at odds for a while. And Trump was trying to negotiate a peace deal with Iran, and then found out that that was all a big elaborate deception to kind of lure Iran in. And then the strike happened against Iran that started all of this, and Trump knew every bit about it. He was involved in that. It's even admittedly that he's part of that deception against Iran. Is it possible that that deception is still being played out? You know, maybe they realized, well, the polling numbers aren't too good on this. There's a lot of people that are saying, hey, what has Iran done recently? I mean, you know, you can say that Iran did this, this, and this in the past and supported this terrorist group or did this back in 1979 and all this. But what about now? Iran, there's not a lot of evidence that Iran has done anything specifically now. I mean, you might be able to make connections, and I think it would be correct, to October 7th in Israel, but it's hard to catch them with the smoking gun. And I think that maybe they might think that they need that. So are they backing off for a little bit, kind of seeing if Iran will let their guard down? I don't know. The whole sleeper cell thing, is that gone away? Or is this news report of these 11 Iranians and one of them being an army sniper, is that a setup so that there would be something happen later on here in the United States and like, oh, see, Iran's a bad guy. We knew we should have taken care of him when we had a chance. Now let's go in and finish the job. I don't know. I don't know. And that's the problem. This is like what we teach our children. This is the problem when you lie. This is the problem when you don't tell the truth. And some people are okay with that because they say, well, it's government. They have to, you know, have a certain level of deception because we have enemies and we can't just, you know, show all of our cards. I get that. I get that. But I think there's other ways of doing this. So we'll see if this holds true. Both sides are not showing or saying anything that would indicate that this is the start of a new relationship and that all the hostilities are over. They're both, you know, basically saying this is just a ceasefire for a while, and we'll finish the job later. It gives both of them time to regroup, rearm. You know, both countries were hit pretty hard, and you might, you know, could easily say that Iran was probably hit harder, but Iran stood its ground and kept going. But they both received some pretty hard knocks in this one. So we will see how this plays out, right? The point to me saying all this is not to try to spread some wild, you know, conspiracy theory. It's just to, you know, let you know that it's still not time to let your guard down. If you think back over the last several years, there's always these things that happen that seem to be really bad, right? And we think, oh, the world is about ready to end. And then we back off and it ends up not being as bad, or it goes away. And then people kind of let their guard down. They let their guard down, and then all of a sudden they're shocked later on when something happens. Through all of this, there's been some interesting things come out of the White House that may be nothing, but I don't know, they just sound strange. I believe it was yesterday, the president tweeted or posted online that now's the time for world peace. It's time for the world to come together in peace. I was like, that sounds a little end time-ish. Today he posted that it's now we are now in the golden age that he's been talking about, that he's been saying that he's going to have this golden age. And while I know that when he says that, it's not the same exact thing as a new world order, but in some ways it's just kind of a repackaged version of it. And so, because part of this golden age includes all this insanely high-tech technology, right? And we have to understand that these events that are going on, it's not so much it's one singular thing that's going to, you know, push us over the edge. That may eventually happen in the future. There may be some event that from that point on, it's complete, utter chaos, that we just kind of, that falling off the cliff moment, right? But what we're seeing happen is a series of events that's pushing us closer and closer to that cliff. And it's being done, I believe, very methodically, because every time this happens, they're able to get away with a little bit more. They're able to convince people a little bit more. They're able to hide the deception of the things that they're really doing a little bit more, because it distracts people. Now, immediately after this, it's pushed to do this big, beautiful bill. It's pushed to get all of these other things in line that has been happening for the last few months. The big surveillance systems and the Palantir's, big data dump of all the, list of all the American citizens. Those things are going to be easier selling points as more of these types of things happen. Well, now we've got, confirmed Iranians, army sniper Iranians trying to get into the country after all this happened, after we had all this news that Iran was activating its sleeper cells. Well, we need to have a defense from that. And, we've got 50 million illegals in the country already, so there's no way to really round them all up, because when we do, we have people rioting in the streets, so we have to tone it down just a little bit. But then what do we do for safety? It's a big conundrum, right? Well, hey, guess what? Let's create this big infrastructure to monitor things. We can have drones flying around and cameras everywhere, and it's all being controlled by AI, because it's going to be so big and elaborate that a human can't do it. AI can do it, and can do it very quickly. It can figure this stuff out, and it will be much safer. They'll be able to determine if someone is a terrorist or is going to commit terroristic, activities, because the AI will be able to watch this person in their daily life and be able to extrapolate that because of this, and this actions, that they have a high probability of doing something bad. So we alert the authorities. It's it's very much of a thought police when you really start to dig into it. It is one of the most Orwellian, dystopian types of systems that's trying to be built. And it's being done as we speak. They're building the huge structures out there in Abilene, Texas. The big Skynet is being built. They're also building one over in the United Arab Emirates. And it's going to be hundreds of thousands of square footage of artificial intelligent computer systems that's going to monitor and run a lot of stuff. So, we've got potentially a war ended, right? Potentially a war ended. At least paused. Let's put it that way. It's at least paused. Here's something else I want to throw out there. From here on out, it will probably be much easier for Israel to strike Iran. Up until recently, up until the last year or so, there's almost like a hesitancy. Israel wants to attack Iran, but they're worried about the immediate repercussions. Well, now they know what the repercussions are, and they can plan for it. They can devise alter their defenses so that the next time they may not be as hesitant to go in and strike Iran. Oh, we heard that they're rebuilding their centrifuges. Let's go in and blow them up. We know how to handle things now because we've lived through it already. Things aren't over. The world is not a safe place just because of all of this. It's just taking on, we're moving into a new chapter is what it is. And we have to continue with our preparations and understand that all of this stuff is happening. This is why you need to be getting ready. You need to be getting self-sufficient. That's what you need to be doing. This coming weekend, we have our big monthly meeting that we've been having now for 5 years. Every month for 5 years. Well, I take that back. We always take December off, but we didn't take off during COVID or anything like that. So this weekend's focus is on wild medicine, wild plants that you can eat, because we need to be self-sufficient. And we're going to have a few people there that are experts in different areas, and we're going to showcase plants inside. We're going to go outside. There's a trail, hiking, little, very easy little walking trail around the place out in the woods. And we're going to go out and we're going to explore, and we're going to figure out what's out there that's medicinal and edible. And so people can have kind of hands-on of finding that out. It's different than just looking in a book. They'll actually be able to touch the stuff and smell it and all that kind of stuff. This is just a small example of the kind of stuff that we need to be doing. Very small example, but still very necessary, because we have to end our dependency. You know, we hear all this stuff of, oh, we got to end the government's dependency on this or that or whatever. You and I need to end our dependency on the system. And that's only going to happen when we learn to do for ourselves. We toughen up and we take care of our own. And that's about the best advice that I can give anyone. Folks, it's time to get your house in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.